What's going on, guys? Patrick from B Squared. Today we're going to be reviewing the Neomotorsport Type SS springs for the Subaru BRZ, Toyota 86, and Scion FRS. Now, full transparency, Neomotorsport did give us these springs to try out, but we will be giving our most honest opinion on these, so stay till the end of the video and we'll see how honest we can get. So, reading the brochure, these springs have a 3.08 to 4.7 kilogram per millimeter rate in the front, progressive, and the rears have a 2.96 kilogram per millimeter rate, linear.
Wow, you can read the brochure.
The fronts have a 13 millimeter drop and the rears have an 11 millimeter drop, which is pretty mild considering a lot of the springs that are out there. So some of the positives, the fitment is great. I think it's perfect for a car that sees both street and track. It's not too low that you're gonna be afraid to street drive it and go over curbs and bumps and potholes and stuff. But if you want it to feel like your car was a little bit lower when you go to the track or when you go to the autocross, it really does feel like that. I think for my current setup, which is a 17 by 8 plus 40, they look pretty darn good.
You're going to get a Neo spring also, right?
Yeah. Ah!
It feels really good, man.
It should feel kind of stock, like the spring rates are the same, it's just a little lower.
Another positive is the similar to stock spring rates. This means that you're not going to be putting a spring that doesn't match the damping rate of your stock dampers if you're going to maintain your stock dampers. So you don't have to worry about premature blowout of your suspension components. A positive, at least in terms of the street driving perspective, the progressive spring rate does help out with bump travel. Your suspension is going to have a little bit more resistance on the top of the travel, meaning you're not going to over travel your struts, and they're going to be operating within more or less what is the normal operating range, obviously aside from that 13 millimeters of lowering. Because the spring rates are close to stock, you're going to be maintaining the stock ride comfort. So in terms of like NVH, you don't have to worry about these springs making your car ride even worse. They are more or less close to stock from the probably 20 or 30,000 kilometers I've put on the car already. And speaking of kilometers, I think my struts already have 150,000 kilometers on them. And with these springs being on there for at least 20,000 of those kilometers, they have not blown my strut. So I can confidently say with the springs that I currently have in my car, they've been pretty reliable for me. Some of the negatives. We're gonna get back to the progressive spring rate here. And when you're going to the track, we don't typically want to recommend a progressive setup, mainly because for drivers, you want to feel a consistent spring feel however the car is pitched. But in our case, say you brake heavy or you're starting a corner and you load up the front, you're going to be entering that progressive range where the spring rate gets a little bit stiffer, meaning your roll stiffness in the front is going to be higher than the rear, and it's hard to sort of get that balancing act between when you can feel the front starting to load up in this stiff region versus the softer region. It will be harder for you to trail brake because your fronts roll less than the rear. So initially coming off of the stock spring onto the Neomotorsport springs, I found that I was understeering a little bit initially, but then once I learned how to deal with it and load the car differently in the corners, I ended up getting a different performance out of it. There will be a learning curve if you want to get these to work really well on the track, as I have. But in terms of outright performance, these probably aren't the springs that you want to choose if you're looking for something that is competition level. And as with all lowering springs on this platform, they still use the stock struts, meaning your wheel fitment is going to be very limited to something maybe max of 17 by 8 plus 40. So who are these springs perfect for? I think the ideal user profile for these springs are for people who mainly daily drive their car, but they go to casual lapping days, autocross, HPDE, that type of thing, and they want that OEM reliability with a mild drop, and they don't want to have to worry about like seized coilovers. They don't want to have to worry about really poor ride comfort. So if you're the type of person, you go to the track occasionally or you're not in a competition setting, I think these are a great way to lower your car, make it look nice. These are a great budget-friendly option to keep your car reliable and performing well enough on the track. Thanks for watching, guys, and again, huge shout out to Neomotorsport for giving us these springs to try. We hope you guys give these a shot as well, and you can find them on Amazon and on Neomotorsport's website. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys at the track.